we start off with verse 1. Just want to read off what we left off last week from Jerry's sermon. So last week we talked about uh, the threshing floor when Ruth met Boaz, and the last verse from last sermon was chapter 3, verse 18. Then she said, that's Naomi, sit still, my daughter. That's talking to Ruth, until you know how the matter will turn out for the man. The man is Boaz. For the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. So that sets the scene for Boaz going out to carry out what he has agreed to do with Ruth. All right. So verse 1, we start off chapter 4, verse 1. It says, now Boaz went up to the gate. The gate is a public place. It's normally where everyone congregates or passing through. The gate is there's a crowd, and normally they have during that time they normally have some kind of legal proceedings because it's public and everyone can be there to be witness. And sat down there. So Boaz went to the gate, sat down, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, come aside, friend, sit down here. So he came aside and sat down. So Boaz was at the gate, and then he saw this guy. So he called him friend. We I'm pretty sure Boaz knows his name, but his name is not shown. But I think the author is not trying to put him as the focus. So the author, the narrator, is just putting down a friend. So Boaz was sitting at the gate. When there's a lot of people going through the gate, it's like a bottleneck. People converge, and it's easy for him to uh, catch or spot that guy, right? And he met. So this is a scene, right? This is you can imagine this is a city gate. There's a crowd, and then the elders sitting there. Later on, we read that the elders are coming in to be witnesses, and Boaz uh, um, met the near redeemer, the guy whom Boaz was saying earlier, telling Ruth there is a nearer redeemer than him. So this is a crowd that is the city gate, and the word close relative appeared in this. This is NKJV version, and it says close relative. But in other version, there are other. It's called other version is kinsman, and the original Hebrew word is goah. And this close relative is appeared 23 times over 4 chapters in Ruth. So but it also appears in other books in Isaiah 24 times, but it's over 66 chapters, and Leviticus 18 times over 27 chapters. So this word kinsman is really the center of the whole book, because it's repeated many times, 23 times over 4 chapters. A very short book, appeared many times. And sometimes some translation translated as redeem, redeemer, kinsman, revenger, avenger, ransom, et al. There are um, many translation that explains this word, close relative or kinsman. So these are the obligation of a kinsman. So you have to understand when Boaz approached this person, and Boaz has a task to accomplish, right? And when he calls out that guy, the nearer redeemer, he should already know why is he approached, if this is a case of redeeming the land. And there are basically 4 obligations as spelled out in Leviticus 25. Leviticus 25:48 says, after he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brothers may redeem him. That means when a person become a slave, the kinsman, the redeemer, is to redeem back this person back from slavery and get and he would get his freedom back again. So that's one obligation. Second obligation is the avenger of blood in Numbers 35. The avenger of blood himself shall put the murderer to death. When he meets him, he shall put him to death. That means he's supposed to avenge and kill the person who killed his brother, right? For example. So the Chinese translation is very, it's quite brutal. It said, 意遇见就杀他. That means when you first meet that guy, you have to kill him. Not on the second meeting, or not delay, or not some other time. So when you first see this guy, you have to put him to death. So that's how crucial this obligation is. So the nearer the redeemer must be having this thought with him. And the third one is, if one of your brethren becomes poor and he has sold some of his possession, and if his redeeming relative comes to redeem it, then he shall redeem what his brother sold. So this is last week's sermon explained by Jerry as well. This is to redeem the possession, and in this case, land. And the next one is also from last week. We learned that in Deuteronomy, he was responsible to carry on the family name by marrying a childless widow. So this is applicable to what we reading this week, which is Ruth, right? So there is a land and there's marriage involved, but these are basically the four obligation that he is to carry out. And this is the scene, right? Then he calls in, Boaz calls in the 10 elders, and they're sitting down and they are going through in this public area where everyone is looking at what's happening and listening into what they are saying. So verse 2 and saying, so Boaz spotted this guy, asked him, and then called him out and asked him to sit down. So they are sitting down, and in verse 2, Boaz continues, and he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit down here. So they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. So he started off with, after he set the scene, right? Setting, having the elders in, listening in, and both of them are sitting down. Then he lays out what the case is, right? So he first talked about Naomi, who came back from Moab. He did not go back too far back for the history. He didn't talk about Elimelech, the famine, and where they moved, but he started off directly with Naomi, because I think most people, it's not wrong to assume most people there at the city already know the story and background of Naomi, because in chapter 3, when Naomi came back, people already recognized Naomi, and that's when Naomi say, "Don't call me Maya." Yeah. So the story of Naomi is, I think, is quite well known. So he did not explain a lot, but he bring it up first because that is related to the case that he wants to bring up with the kinsman. So he come back from Naomi, some background, and there's a piece of land which belonged to Elimelech. So land is involved, and it is. So there was a discussion on Friday night Bible study why land is brought up first and not Ruth was brought up first. But I think there are discussion to see, is Boaz manipulative or deceptive in that sense that he bring up land first. But I think the for when there's a legal transaction going on, especially related to land, it's always land to come out first, and then the rest will come later. Like for example, if you buy a piece of property, you talk about the location and the size, and then the price. Then you talk about what it comes with. Maybe around the land there are trees, there are tax implication, there are repair to be done to the land. So the land came out first, and this is what the Redeemer is. The discussion is is all about. And because also I think from a man discussing to a man, land is always the key um, assets that they have. Um, I inserted this personal story. If you, I'm not sure whether I've told this before, and this is our ancestors. My great grandfather came from this part of China, right? And then few years back, we went back. We went back twice to visit the place because there is a land that my great grandfather stayed in. So I was very curious to go back. And of course, so I'm not the redeemer. I'm not going, I did not go back to redeem the land. I was actually, in the whole family, I'm the one who actually, I'd spent like about 2 years compiling the family trees, and I know who are my relatives, my cousins, and my uncles. And this morning, I just counted, I'm like the 60th in line if I want to go back and reclaim the land. So I'm like way, way back there. So I know I'm not the one to go back to reclaim the land, to redeem the land. But it's a case where, I went back and I realized that, hey, I could be a redeemer of a land as well. My wife was like laughing. So I went back. That's my mom and another old auntie was there. This side is the houses. This side is a vegetable farm, and across that there is a river, and I'll show you what the river shows. All right. And sometimes when you look at what the story of our ancestors, you always think, what if the ancestors did not leave the land, right? What if Elimelech did not leave Bethlehem and went to Moab and came back again? So there's a lot of what ifs. So I went there. That's me, our daughter, Kim is there, and then we found my wife was very good. She went in. I was a bit shy. I did not want to disturb the villagers, but my wife barged in and found this. We call penghulu, right? In a local side, he's like the guy who had this scroll. You see, he's having a scroll, and he came out. He said, "Oh, you're a visitor." He came out with the scroll. He opened the scroll, and on the scroll are plots of land with names, right? So, and of course, I'm ready. I went there. I know who are my father, my grandfather, great grandfather. We are the 20th generation. I had the names from generation 1 to generation 21. So I went there, and then I said, this name. He said, no, don't have. And then he said, this name don't have. But finally, he's pointed, yeah, the guy's name in my family tree is there. So we went to see the land, and the land looks like this. Right? It's just left there. No one is using it. I think there's a chicken coop there, and I said, okay, yeah, that's the land my great grandfather used to live, and now there's nothing, so that's fine. So that's just part of the story. But we always wonder, like we discussed that in Friday Bible study. Is like, what if Elimelech did not leave Moab? Why Boaz stayed? And that's all. And when you look back at all these things, and you see God's fingerprint everywhere, because you're standing here right now, you can look back and you understand why things happen the way it happened. So when you're having difficulties and when you're suffering and going through crisis, and there's always a reason for that. And the next the next picture I'm going to show is the view of me looking across the veggie, the farm, and this is what I saw: a flock of geese, right? So I'm just thinking, if my great grandfather did not leave that village, I would probably be shepherding geese than being a shepherd. So that could have been my flock, right? So that's a reason. That's a little bit story, and that related uh, to me personally when I was studying through the words. So anyway, maybe I want to get going again. So verse 4, and I thought to inform you. So that is Boaz talking to the close relative. Buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. This verse sounds like a verse in Matthew 5, right? When Jesus say, let the yes be yes, let the no be no. So Boaz is already showing that character of, yeah, let the yes be yes, no be no. So he lays out very clearly about buying back the land from Naomi. And notice that is buy it back. So there is a cost to it. The close relative had to pay to buy it back. And so he lays it down very clearly exactly what he needs to do, and he lays down the implication of it. If you don't buy it, then I will buy it. If you don't redeem it, I will redeem it, because there's no one but you to redeem it. And he's very so Boaz is very clear and transparent about it. So the close relative said, I will redeem it. Let me forward. Right. So that's Matthew 5:37. But let your yes be yes and your no be no. So Boaz is essentially saying, if yes, say yes. If no, say no. Right. So the close redeemer, the close relative is saying, I will redeem it. So he's very sure that he wants to buy it back from Naomi, and it's a piece of land, and he probably thinks that this is a right thing to do. Then in verse 5, Boaz said, on the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. So, and then verse 6 says, and the close relative said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem it, you redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it. So verse 5 is when Boaz presented the next case, right? The next obligation for this close relative. Um, on the day you buy the field from the hand from Naomi, that's the first proposition. You must also buy from Ruth. And notice that he also used Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead. He lays out very clearly the background of Ruth. Ruth is from Moabite, and um, during that time, the Israelites are really against the Ammonites and the Moabites. And he puts it very clearly. He doesn't hide anything. He's telling him the whole thing about the whole deal. And he also said the Ruth, the wife of the dead, which is Malon, right, the son of Elimelech who died, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance. So he is clearly spelling out the Leviticus law on perpetuating the name of the dead. So he doesn't want to hide. He doesn't want to assume that the close relative knows or do not know what is involved and what he's getting into. So now, so 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 when Boaz said this, the close relatives responded, right? So now he said, I cannot. So he's actually said no 3 times. I cannot redeem it. You redeem it. I cannot redeem it. So it's like 3 times. When they say 3 times, it's like very sure. There's no doubt. Um, yeah, when he said it 3 times, there's really no doubt. It cannot be a mistake. Everyone is listening in, and you repeated the same thing 3 times. So the close relative said no, because he has his reason, and his reason being he cannot redeem it for myself unless you ruin my own inheritance, and you redeem my right of redemption is affected. So you can see the contrast here now between Boaz and the close relative, right? The two men discussing in the open area in the city gate. Boaz is being transparent. He um, He wants to be sure that the close relative knows what he's getting into. He lays out everything. He's transparent, and Boaz, he wanted to perpetuate the name of the dead, right? He wants to continue um, the legacy, the family name of Elimelech. And if we know that in back in Joshua, when they took over the promised land, God divided Joshua divided the land into for the 12, and then under the 12 is divided to family groups, right? So they want to make sure that the family groups, the land belongs to the family group, doesn't go to another family group. But if it is due to some situation that they lost it, they have to redeem it back. But for this close relative, he knows what he's getting into, so he said no 3 times, and all because of his own benefit, his own uh, preservation, right? So his self-interest. He's thinking more about himself, but Boaz is thinking more for Naomi and Ruth. And this is this is also in Deuteronomy, and it takes it spells out how do they confirm that transaction, right? So in if he said yes, if he said yes in Deuteronomy 25 verse 5, take her as his, if he takes her as his wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. So this is all he has to do when after he said yes. If he say if if the close relatives say no, this is what he has to do. This is what happens. In verse 8 in Deuteronomy, if he say no, then the elders of his city shall call him and speak to him. Right? He has to call him. There are 10 elders sitting there. He has to call this close relative here. And if he stands firm and say, I do not want to take her, then verse 9 says, then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, remove his sandal from his foot, spit in his face, and answer and say, so shall it be done to the man who will not build up his brother's house. And his name shall be called in Israel the house of him who had his sandal removed. So this close relative, I'm not sure whether he knows exactly, but I think he's very firm in saying no. So when he say no, a few things is involved. The elders is involved. The elders have to speak to him. His sandal is involved. One of his sandal will be taken away. Sandal is important because sandal is where you step on the land. Right? If you remove the sandal, that means the land that you step on is no longer yours. I think it goes like that. But sandal is taken off from his foot, and the wife will spit on his face. Right? So this is, and then the last thing is your name, your reputation in Israel will be your reputation will be the house of him who had his sandal removed. So you pick up this reputation for the in Israel, and you'll be considered somebody who did not fulfill your obligation. I think that's what it means. So there's a lot at stake for the close relative, but he's still assuming that he knows everything here. He still go ahead and say no to Boaz. So if we put together, right, there are two characters in this story, and we look at their characters, right? The nearer the redeemer, what does he show when we talk about character? He protects his inheritance. So he said that when if he marries Ruth and have offspring, and then his inheritance is affected, probably he has his own children, and it messes things up. So he wants to protect his own inheritance. In a verse, he says, "My own, myself." So he's really focusing on he himself, and he counts the cost. He knows he's a clever guy. He can calculate things, and he knows what is involved. So he counts the cost like all of us do when we are facing this kind of option. We also knows how to count the cost. If you want to buy a land, you want to do something, there's always a cost to it. And he thinks of self first. He think about himself. He mentioned it 3 times. It's all about his own inheritance, and he affects himself. So the nearer the Redeemer, you can see his character. And in Boaz, Boaz's character, he gives up personal advantage. What it means is that he has the advantage of redeeming the land. Right? He Ruth gleans in his field. He had meals together. He has sent barleys to Naomi, and he has this advantage because he knows Ruth, and he knows Naomi. Naomi knows Boaz, so he has this advantage of redeeming the land before this person, and he embraces responsibility. When Ruth told him that when Ruth appeared in the threshing floor, um, Boaz already know his responsibility as a redeemer, and he thinks of Ruth and Naomi because he wants to make sure everything is done properly, and he said there is a redeemer closer to him. So he's all about um, uh, other people, right? The first nearer redeemer is about himself. He thinks about Ruth and Naomi, and that reflects very clearly on who Jesus's character, right? Jesus gave up heavenly glory at the cross. He embraces the cross, the suffering, and the public humiliation. And he all he does is thinking of the Father's will and our salvation. So Jesus did all this for all of us. If you summarize it, for the character of Nero the Redeemer is he always asks himself, what does it mean for me? What is what's in it for me? So he calculates the cost. He knows what is what how does it affect himself. So he asks the question, what does it mean for me? For Boaz, for him is what is the right thing to do. He's a second to the Redeemer. The right thing to do is to let the first Redeemer um, grant him the first right or refusal for the redemption of the land and marrying Ruth. So Boaz thinks about what is the right thing to do, and he got the elders together. He he does it in a city gate, a public area, and he's very straightforward. Yes, 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 a yes, no, a no, and that is how Boaz character is. If you reflect that to Jesus, and this is what all of us needs to um, aim towards, needs to think about is what pleases my Father, right? So one is about himself, one is about others, one is about God our Father. So these three characters put together gives us a very good picture, a good progression, right? Where we are today, what we need to be, and where we'll be in the future. So a character, right? Back to the title. Character is not only doing the right thing. Character is doing the right thing in the right way. Boaz did it in public. He had the elders as witnesses. He lays out the plan. About the land and about Ruth, and he does it in the right way. So if we move on to what Boaz does next. And this verse also says a few things. Now, this was a custom. Notice that it says custom and not commandment or not the law, right? So it's very clearly the author, the narrator is uh, recording the custom of on in that time. Now this was a custom in former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging, right? Redeeming of the land. To confirm anything, one man took off his sandal and gave it to the other. And this was a confirmation in Israel. So the sandal is confirmation, and this is a custom. And if you remember earlier what the transaction, if you say no, there is elders involved, there is sandals involved, there is a reputation involved, and there's also spitting on his face involved. But this is not spelled out in these two verses, and I think that is why the author is saying this is a custom, this is the practice that time, and the author is not giving us a lesson on the law. He's just recording what happened in history. So that's why it's a custom. It's not a commandment. And there's no spitting. So I guess during that time, there's already no such practice, or Naomi was not present, so there's no spitting going on. And the author is telling us his sandal two times, and that is a confirmation of the transaction. So and it changes. Like today's custom, we use signature, we use PDF, DocuSign, electronic signature, and we have facial recognition. So in today, the custom is also different, but the principle of the law still remains. So this is what the verse is trying to explain. And then in verse 9, and Boaz said to the elders and all the people, "You are witnesses this day, and I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilon's and Mahlon's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Mahlon, I have acquired as my wife to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren and from his position at the gate." We are witnesses to this. A few points I want to bring up. Here he said he bought the land. Now he says he acquired Ruth as the wife. In the KJV version, actually it's bought and purchased. So I think in NKJV it puts it a more I mean, human you cannot buy, right? So he says acquired Ruth as the wife. And also we notice he said you are witnesses two times, right? Two times because there are basically two. There is a land and there's a Ruth, so you need to have confirmation of for both. So the first part is witnesses for the land, and the second part witnesses for marrying Ruth. So the whole thing is all spelled out clearly according to the custom, and it's transparent, and it is in public, so no one can go back and say otherwise. So Boaz makes sure that everything is done the right way. And if you remember in Ruth 3, Boaz told Ruth, "I will do for you all that you request." So that is a private promise. Nobody actually knows what Boaz said to Ruth, right? And during that time, also it's very clear that they did this when no one can see them. And then in Ruth 4, Boaz to public, "I have bought all that was Elimelech's." Verse 9, "I have acquired, you are witnesses to this day." Verse 10. So it's a public commitment. So to turn a private promise to a public commitment, it takes a certain kind of character. And I refer to this verse from Luke 6:45. "A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart his mouth speaks." So from a private promise to turn into a public commitment, it takes what is in his heart, right? Because when you're in private, nobody knows, nobody can see what you say, whether you will commit to it. But in Boaz's case, he did it in a public manner, and everyone can see it, and that goes to show Boaz's character. He doesn't avoid accountability; it welcomes it. So Boaz is not afraid of being checked. He's not afraid of being questioned or audited. So that's why in today's world we have even when if you're in a marriage, people can see that you're accountable. Let me forward a bit on my notes. In marriage, right? You don't say what do I get out of this. In church, you don't say what benefits me. In work, you don't say how does this help my career. And in relationships, what can this person do for me? So in our daily life, we should also welcome accountability Accountability means you are the main responsibility. You cannot run away from it. So even like for us, our church offering, the book is there, it's open. All the offerings coming in and out, the person to check, the person to countersign, and the person who holds the money are all open, and we're practicing accountability in that sense, in the finances and in all we own, right? So that's important as a character for accountability, as shown by Boaz. So in verse 11, so now the first part was Boaz was laying out to this or everything to these close relatives. Second part was the process, the legal process of the witnesses and the elders. And now at 11, and all the people who were at the gate, and the elders said, "We are witnesses. The Lord make the we are witnesses." Right? The elders acknowledge that the Lord made the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, the two who built the house of Israel, and may you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. May your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring which the Lord will give you from this young woman. So this is at the end of the transaction, and the elders comes out and they gave a blessing. And this is about a blessing to end off the this passage. This is a blessing from the elders to a few person, right? So first is the woman. Here the author did not spell out again Ruth's name, because everyone knows the woman is Ruth, and the amazing thing is now Ruth, as a Moabitess, is compared with Rachel and Leah. Rachel and Leah is the mothers of Israel. They are the matriarch of Israel. So for Ruth to be compared and put side by side with Rachel and Leah, I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big thing that Ruth is now welcome as part of their people. Remember, Ruth was saying, "Your God be my God, your people be my people." So this is the part where Ruth has been acknowledged as their people. So this, I thought, is very important for Ruth. And then now the elders bless Boaz for what Boaz has done, his fulfilling of his obligation, his character to organize all this and have this transaction and to perpetuate the name of the dead. Right. So he's done in the eyes of the elders the right thing in the right way. And may your house be the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. So um, the Judah, Tamar, that is quite a broken situation. We shall not go there, but he's saying, the elder is saying, your house, your family will be blessed. So 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 the blessing goes to Ruth, to Boaz, and to his um, household, his family. And the elders, when they pray over this, they bless them, and they would not know, eventually David came out from the lineage. So Perez, Salmon, Boaz, Ruth, and then comes David, and later on the line of Jesus. So 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 Boaz has done something very significant. If not for this, things would have been different. But of course, we know God can do anything. But this is Boaz carried out his obligation, and his offspring, which the Lord will give you from this young woman. So God will bless him, Ruth, his family, and his offspring. So this is a good ending for this passage, in terms of a blessing, in terms of what Boaz has done. So Boaz, going back to characters, right? Boaz has been consistent, and we see this consistency when Boaz blessed the workers. May the Lord be with you when he enters the scene in Ruth chapter 2. He blessed Ruth. He had meals with her. He served her. He allowed her to glean and to have extra barley, and he allowed her to glean over 2 seasons. Now he and his household being blessed for being living consistently before God and his people. Right? He's consistent in private and is in public. He's consistent with his people, among his people, and among public in the city square, city gate, and also to the elders, leaving a legacy that extends far beyond generation. And character doesn't end with us; it shapes the generations that follow. So we as parents and we as churchgoers, Christians, we also have a obligation to do. So when people see us as Christian, do they see Christ in us? And this is very important because it goes on to perpetuate to our next generation and next generation. So summarize a few characters of Boaz. His character is not only doing the right thing, it is doing the right thing in the right way. Character verifies integrity. He's transparent. Character doesn't avoid accountability. He welcomes it. He have the elders. He have the public to check and audit what he's done. And character doesn't end with us. It shapes the generations that follow. Our character is not only affecting the people around us today. It affects the generation and generation that follows. So that reflects back to who Jesus is. Boaz was consistent, but Jesus was perfect. Jesus was a perfect obedience, and as I lay out in John 6:38, Jesus always did the Father's will. In John 8:29, I always do those things that please Him. Right, that is Jesus's character, a perfect obedience. And John 18:12, in secret I have not said nothing. So He is the same in private and in public. And John 13:15, leave an example for his disciples. And that is discipleship. So therefore, we make it our aim, whether present or absent, to be well pleasing to him. This is what Paul said in 2 Corinthians. This is our aim. Our aim is to please him. So our aim is to answer to his calling, and our aim is to serve whatever he has laid out for us. So Boaz at the field, at the threshing floor, and at the city gate is consistent. Right? So the question to us is, does my private character match my public reputation? So we go out, like if we go out today after church, are we a different person? We will go out to our workplace. Are we the same person as what we are today? And if we go back to family, neighborhood, are we the same person as what we are at church on Sunday? So I want to close with a prayer for all of us, that to be consistent in our character, and to be and to know what it's like to be a Christ follower. So let me just pray. Dear Father God, thank you for today's teaching and lesson. Father, we just pray that whatever you relay in our hearts today, we continue to be consistent from the word, from the teaching, and from what you have shown us to be, what you want us to be, and to be pleasing to you. Pray that we continue to be obedient, and pray that we continue to heed your calls, and pray that we continue to know what you have for us, and continue to serve you and serve the community. And Father, thank you for this sermon today. Pray that you help us when we leave this church, leave this Sunday. We continue to be consistent in our character, in serving you, and to be obedient. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Oh, guitar, eh? Oh.
God's a Redeemer. Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One. Jesus, my Redeemer, name above all names, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, oh, for sinners slain. Thank you, my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. When I stand in glory, I will see his face. There I serve my King forever in that holy place. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. And leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. All right, church dismissed.
Thank you. Hey, that's very nice song. Closing song.
Closing song. I saved this song